Hello guys, welcome to my channel, and for today I'm going to be showing to you how to solve quadratic equations using extracting square roots, the quadratic formula, by factoring and by completing the square. But first, I'm gonna be showing you how to solve it by extracting the square roots. So let's get right into it. So we have here 4x squared minus 9 equals 0. So how are we going to solve this? By extracting the square root. So we have here 4x squared minus 9 equals 0. So we need to remember that ax squared is equal to c, and that b is not equal to 0. So the first thing that we need to do is to extract negative 9 to the other side. So this is gonna be 4x squared is equals to 0, and if you transpose something from the other side, then the negative will become positive, and if it is positive, then it will be negative. But for here it's negative, so yeah, it turns positive. So this is now 4x squared is equals to 9, since 0 plus 9 is equals to 9. Now we're gonna put square root on both sides. So the square root of 4x is 2x. If you're wondering why the squared isn't there, it's because we cancel squared if we square root it. So we can cancel it. And then the square root of 9 is equals to 3. Then we're gonna divide both sides by 2 to get the value of x, so cancel 2, and then the result is x is equals to 3 over 2. And yeah, don't forget plus minus. So this is our final answer. So yeah, that's it for extracting the square roots. Next, we're gonna be solving quadratic equations by factoring. So we have here x squared minus 16 is equal to 0. So remember that if we encounter a squared minus b squared, then like that, if you counter this like the negative sign is in the middle, then you can factor this out by using this formula: a plus b parenthesis and then a minus b. So yeah, this is how you are going to factor if the middle sign is negative. So we have here x, and then the square root of 16 is 4. Since the square root of x squared is x, so we put x and the x, and then the square root of 16 is 4, so we put 4. And then how is it positive? It's because we followed the formula, so it is supposed to be positive. Then you just copy the square root of x is x, the square root of x squared is x, and the square root of 16 is 4. And then we copy the sign of the formula, and it's negative. So we are checking that if this isn't really needed, but if you want to make sure that you have the correct answer, you can check it. So we have here x plus 4 and x minus 4. So how do we answer this? So we just need to remember the FOIL method. FOIL. So F meaning the first terms, O for the outer terms, outer, then I for the inner terms, inner, then for L, last, the last terms. Now we can finally start to answer. So we use the first terms, the first one, the first from the left and the first from the right. So x times x is x squared. And then O for outer, so we need to do the outer. So the outer is x times negative 4. So x times negative 4 is negative 4x. Now the inner. The inner ones in the left and the inner ones from the right. So positive 4 times x is positive 4x. Then the last terms. 4 times negative 4 is negative 16 since positive times negative is negative. So, so we're now gonna combine. So we need first to put the x squared since that is the quadratic term. Then for the linear term is negative 4x. And then for the constant is 16. But if you're thinking this, it's wrong since yeah, you need to recheck it. This isn't the right answer since the answer here is x squared minus 4x minus 16 and the answer there is x squared minus 16. So we need to cross out negative 4x since if you are answering you forgot to you forgot to subtract 4x minus 4x and 4x minus 4x is equals to 0. So the answer here is x squared minus 16. So yeah, this is how to check if you have the correct factored form. So the next step, wait, I forgot to put equals 0. So the next step, x plus 4 equals to 0 and then x minus 4 is equals to 0. So we need to separate them to get the value of two x's. So we now calculate x plus 4 is equals to 0. Then to answer this, we need to transpose 4 from the other side. Since we're transposing something from the other side, the sign will change into the opposite sign from its sign. So if it's positive again, it's gonna be negative. Negative 4. So, so the value of x is negative 4. since 0 minus 4 is negative 4. So this is the value of the other x. Now we are gonna check for the other one. So x minus 4 is equals to 0. We transpose negative 4 to get the value of x. So we now get x equals to 0. Then when it's negative, transposing from the other side makes it positive. So 0 plus 4. Then x equals positive 4, since 0 plus 4 is 4, positive 4. So this is our final answer. X equals negative 4 and x is equals to 4. These are our two x's. Next, we're gonna be solving quadratic equations using the quadratic formula. So we have here x squared minus 2x minus 15 is equals to 0. So how are we going to answer this? So all we need to remember if the we can only use quadratic equations when it's on standard form. So like this, ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0. This is what we call a standard form, and it's the same as our question here shown. So it is really true that we can answer this by using the quadratic formula, since it's the easiest way to answer this equation. So all we need to remember is how the value we need to get the value of a, the value of b, and the value of c. So always remember that x has a coefficient of 1, so our a is 1, since we need to get the value of a. Then the value of b is 2, but always remember that to copy the sign, so that is negative 2. Then for c is negative 15, as shown from the standard form. So before we can answer this equation, we need to remember the formula for the quadratic formula. That is why it's called the quadratic formula, since it has a formula that we use that is gonna be useful when answering this kind of equation. So the quadratic formula is x equals negative b plus minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, the square root of b squared minus 4ac, and then divided by 2a. So let me just adjust the square root real quick. So that we always remember this formula, since this is how the main thing that we need to remember to answer the quadratic formula. If we don't know the quadratic formula, then we cannot answer this kind of equation. So we need to copy from the quadratic formula. So x is equal to, so as shown here, negative b. So what is our b? B is negative 2, as shown. So we need, don't get confused here. We need to copy the negative sign first, then b. So negative sign first, then b. Our b is negative 2, so we put parenthesis of negative 2. so that we don't get confused when answering in a few minutes later. So copy plus minus the square root of b squared. So what is our b? B is negative 2. So we put parenthesis negative 2 squared. So minus 4 then times a. So what is our a? A here as shown is 1. So we put 1. Then times c. C is negative 15. So we put here negative 15. Okay, let me just adjust the square root real quick. Then divided by 2 as shown. 2 times a. So our a is 1. So we put here 1. So now we are just going to simplify the quadratic formula. So by simplifying this, we are gonna put x is equals to negative times negative is positive. So our answer here is positive 2 plus minus the square root of negative 2 squared. So the answer for this is positive 4. Why is it positive? Since this is how you do it. Negative 2 times negative 2. So negative times negative is positive. So we multiply 2 and 2, that is 4. Then negative times negative is positive. So our answer is positive 4. Positive 4 or just simply 4. Then negative 4 times 1 equals negative 4. Since as shown here, negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. Then times negative 15, since that is what is shown that we need to simplify. Negative 15 times 4 is positive 60, or just simply 60. Since negative times negative is positive, and 15 times 4 is 60. So there. Then let me just adjust the square root and then divided by 2a. So 2 times 1. So 2 times 1 is simply 2. So the next step is x is equal to 2 plus minus the square root of 64, since 60 plus 4 is 64. Then divided by 2. So now we can finally answer. So all we need to do is get the square root of 64. So x is equal to 2 plus and minus the square root of 64 is 8. Since 8 times 8 is 64 and 64 is a perfect square. And then divided by 2. So now we can finally answer. So we need to separate 2, the x of 1 and the x of 2, since we are going to find 2 x's. So let us answer first the x of 1. So the x of 1. X of 1 is equals to 2. Then there are what we see here is plus and minus. So we're just going to use plus first, since it's the upper part, so we need to use it first. Then we just need to calculate it. I mean, no. We need to do the x of 2 first, the next one. So we have here 2, then we need to use the negative one, the minus, since we already used the addition one. So yeah, divided by 2. So now we enter the x of 1. So we have here is equals to 2 plus 8 is equals to 10, and then divided by 2. Just simply copy 2. 10 10 divided by 2 is simply 5. So our x of 1 is 5. So this is the final answer for the other x. Now the x of 2, since we need to find two x's. So this is equals to, this is equal to 2 minus 8 is negative 6. Then simply copy 2. Negative 6 divided by 2 is negative 3, is equal to negative 3. Then that means the x of 2 is equal to negative 3. So this is the final answer. The x of 1 equals 5 and the x of 2 is equals to negative 3. So this is how you solve quadratic equations using the quadratic formula. Last but not the least, I am going to show you how to solve quadratic equations by completing the square. So always remember that the x has the coefficient of 1. Then so the first thing we are gonna do is to transpose negative 2 to the other side. Since this is already standard form, so yeah, we can answer by doing this. So transposing negative 2 to the other side, we are gonna get positive 2. Then we're just gonna put blank here. So the question is, how are we going to answer this? Like, how are we going to identify what the blank are? So it's just simple. Let me show you. So remember that ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0 is standard form. So all we need to do is copy this formula. B divided by 2 squared. So we're gonna find bx. So that means the linear term. So our b is 6 as shown, and then divided by 2 squared. 6 divided by 2 is simply 3. Then squared. 3 squared is equal to 9, since 3 squared is simply just the same as 3 times 3, and 3 times 3 is equals to 9. So the blank is equals to 9. Then we just copy the positive sign, since our answer here is positive 9. So just simply copy the positive sign. Now that we have this, we can now factor out this. So to factor out x squared plus 6x plus 9 is equals to x plus 3 squared. So how did we get x plus 3 squared? So just simply get the square root of x squared, which is x, and then the square root of 9, which is 3. Then copy the positive sign from the middle. So our answer is x plus 3 squared. Then 0 plus 2 plus 9 is simply 11. Since 0 plus 2 is 2 and 2 plus 9 is 11. So the next step is to put square root on both sides. The square root of x plus 3 squared and the square root of 11. Don't forget to put plus minus. So we are going to cancel squared and then the square root, since yeah, they are the same. Then so the result is x plus 3, then equals to plus minus, copy plus minus, and then just simply square root of 11, since 11 is not a perfect square. So the next step is to transpose 3 to get the value of x. So x is equals to plus minus 11, then transpose positive 3 turns into negative 3. So we can now put the x of 1 and the x of 2. So the x of 1 is equal the x of 1 is square root of 11 minus 3. Since we are going to use the positive sign first, so positive negative positive square root of 11 minus 3. And yeah, this is just simply the answer for the x of 1. So yeah, one down and then one more to go. So the x of 2. So now we are going to use the negative sign. So square root of negative 11 minus 3. So yeah, this is now simply the answer for the x of 2. So the answer for this equation is x is equals to the square root of 11 minus 3, and then and then negative the square root of negative 11 minus 3. So yeah, that's all.